Hey, paisans, the time has come. On the air since 2009, the independently produced, non-FCC compliant champ of video game talk podcasting. Here comes Tiger Claw Radio. Here's your host, Critical Failure.
Welcome everyone to Tiger Claw Radio. It's a hot one in the studio today. Feeling good. We're going to play some chiptunes, going to talk about some video games. Speaking of chiptunes, let's kick things off with a CME project I've been working on. A nice chiptune compilation. It's about time we did our own, right? I reached out to a few people, started shaking some hands, seeing what I could do, and I wanted to play some tracks for you today. This one is from a gentleman that I met over on Discord. This was on was it the Colin Benders Discord? No, it wasn't. It was the 424 recording Discord. Anyway, he runs a collaborative SoundCloud with a couple people entitled Not Entirely Unlike Chiptune, and the author is named Arthur Dent. So, among them, he mentioned it's mostly covers, and he's got a cover of Cult of Personality. And when I was talking to him, he was like, yeah, I spent hours and hours working on the guitar solo for Cult of Personality. It wasn't the one I initially picked, but I went back and listened to it after he mentioned that. I was like, yeah, he's right. This is actually really, really well done. So not entirely unlike chiptune, Cult of Personality. Let's take a peek. Stick with us. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio.
Ask not what your country can do. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
It's a good track. I think the only real reason why I skipped it initially was because, I mean, I'm not huge into the source material, like the actual song. It's not a bad song, but it wasn't one that really stuck with me over the years. All right, boys and girls, let's get into it. I've got at least one Vancast for this past week, and it's a little rambly, but let's go with it. It is what it is. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Let's go to the van. Well, here we are. It's Thursday afternoon, 4:18 p.m. I'm out running I guess you'd call it a Craigslist mission. It's for one of the sites that's kind of like Craigslist, but not exactly. Yeah, just out enjoying the gray skies because, man, it looks like it's on the edge of rain. 50 degrees out right now, so it's a nice day to throw the jacket on and go for a walk or whatever. As long as the rain doesn't come. I don't know. Kind of looks like a coin toss. But I've been inside so much lately, it doesn't take much for me to be like, yeah, let's get out now. Been enjoying some... hold on a second. There we go. Been enjoying some of the X88 Pro. Sat down with it again today. Played more... what is that RPG I've been playing? What is it called? Justice... I think it's called Justice Chronicles. Chemco RPG. Regular price like $8 or $7 or something, and I got it for $3 or $4. Although I have the feeling it's one of those deals where it's like they put it on sale and it's just perpetually on sale to lure people in, and that's how they got me. Good game though. I made it to a boss fight and died, and then I had to actually like do a little bit of grinding, which is happened for the first time 6 hours into the game. And when I started grinding, I went back to some other locations in the game that I'd been at, and I actually was able to uncover some things I didn't have. Find some, hidden places, and worked the crafting system a little bit. It was okay. It wasn't like Dragon Warrior grinding, where I wandered around and fought the same thing over and over again. I was able to go explore, and that was enough to get me strong enough to go back and beat that boss. So I beat the boss, and then I did the cutscene immediately after it, and that's where I left it off. So that's been fun. Apart from that, I tried a couple other Android games with mixed success. I tried a game called Bomb Squad, which I remember being available on the Ouya. And that's a really highly rated game. Like, I looked at a few articles that was like, all right, show me the best Android games to put on an Android TV box. And that was one of them, because it's fully controller compatible and fully multiplayer on a single device. Like, I can get a couple of different controllers and play this with my bros without having to, like, sync up a bunch of phones and play that way, which is pretty cool. There's another game called Brawlhalla, which is pretty popular. It's supposed to be the same way, but I haven't tried that one yet. But Android gaming aside, there's a couple things. I want to return to that in a minute, but I also put a bunch more time into Tomb Raider 2, which was a big blast from the past. Got a little further. I kind of forgot how much Tomb Raider 2 was like. They wanted to take the original game and make it more action-oriented. The original Tomb Raider was so much like quiet exploration, checking stuff out, and then halfway through the first level in the second game, it's like this: the walls are caving in. They got spikes on them. The second you get out of there, you get into a place with spike pits that you got to run past, and there's swinging blades. There's a clear, like, Indiana Jones trap after trap after trap, action-oriented, quick-moving segment. And I remember playing it on the PlayStation years ago when it came out, and being able to get through that in a single run. And when I say get through it, I'm talking about, like, the first time I played it, I was able to get through it. This was not like, I was practiced up enough. I knew where it was. This took me a while. This took me a few tries, and I think that's primarily because I'm playing with the somewhat odd-shaped controller, and the X88 Pro stutters a little bit on Tomb Raider 2. This is like a weird choice to be playing Tomb Raider 2 on. I've got it on a lot of different, devices. I could play it on my PC on the same television and have it run smoothly. I don't know. Whatever. It is what it is. I really just wanted to make sure that I wanted to make sure that the system could run PlayStation games. And when I tested it out, and I got stuck on this one and just decided I wanted to play it more. Which, hey, why not? So that's been kind of fun. I've been coming to this realization over the past week. Now, Alex Swingle, try not to laugh hysterically because I know you're going to. Am I a casual gamer? Am I a casual dude now? Is that how it is? Because I think I'm into casual stuff. Like, 10 years ago, I didn't like being called a casual gamer because all the casual games were like Candy Crush and games that I felt didn't have any soul. And the real games were the popular games. Those are the ones that had, what I wanted. And now it's the opposite. The casual games are games like Justice Chronicles, where it has all the soul, in my opinion. In my opinion, that's where the soul is. That's where the actual gameplay is. And the popular games are just like the cash grabs and the awful, expensive disappointments and stuff. I think it's reversed. So, I think I'm casual now. I'm sorry. I'm gonna wear khaki slacks and loafers. And I'm going to read the newspaper because apparently I'm 100% casual. I don't know, but it's been cool. It's been cool exploring the Google Play library a little bit. Because I think it's because of the amount of people that are involved with development. Like a good solid Google Play or Android game is only going to have a handful of people developing it. Whereas a AAA game, there's so many people involved, it becomes very difficult to stop the focus of the game from changing, Because big companies have stockholders they got to listen to, vampires are testing really high now, let's put vampires in it. Really? And it also has to have loot boxes, because that's where the money is. Yeah, see, I don't know. It's just it's part of the business now. It has been for a long time, but I feel like it's finally settling in. It's like now, it's like, oh wait, there are other games that don't necessarily have to adhere to these sort of business practices, and they still live and survive. A game like Justice Chronicles is not designed to sell to 1 million people. It's just not. It's designed to sell to, 10,000 people, but the profit margin is just so much higher because they don't have to pay as many people to make it, that they're able to strike up a business model where actual games can be developed, and that's how they can earn money, by offering you a real product. Now, say what you will. Maybe you think that game's crap, and there's a lot of things you could say about it that would be correct. This is not necessarily about Justice Chronicles. This is talking about like lower bracket games. I don't know. I dig it that real games are a thing now, and they're not. I mean, not everything has to be free. I'm okay paying a few bucks. That's been fine. No problem with that. But the prices seem more like in the realm of reality, I guess. You don't have to pay for any sort of physical medium, so there's no reason for that to be included in the price, right? A lot of the major stores, they set their downloadable content so expensive, so that it's comparable or close to it to things that are actually, physical versions, right? In a lot of cases. Let me just say that's the reason why when the Virtual Console was around, they charged so much for their ROMs, because that's all they were. It was ROMs. Yeah, it's been fun. It's been cool. Tomb Raider 2 is an awesome game. When I was younger, when Tomb Raider 2 first came out, this was the only game that I ever owned like a shelf piece for, because that was one line I never really crossed when it came to my nerdiness or geekiness. I never became the guy who had the shelf full of figurines. But my older brother gave me a Lara Croft figurine, promotional figurine from Tomb Raider 2, where she was in like the wetsuit and she had like a pistol or something like that. I had that thing. That thing I miss. I left it behind when I was 17 and I moved out of my house. That was, to date, the only video game related figurine I think I've ever had. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. It was good. It was good. How we doing here? What I find weird about the old Tomb Raider games is, like, didn't they have... I'm positive that there was a level builder somewhere along the line. Because I remember that being a thing with Tomb Raider Gold. That's what Tomb Raider Gold was. It came with a level builder. But I never really saw a bunch of custom stuff for Tomb Raider. Is that a thing? I know that there's like custom models for like Tomb Raider Legends or Legacy or whatever it is. I think it's Legends. From that one on, there's like custom models and stuff, but especially for that first game, give me some custom caves with a few dinosaurs in them or whatever for me to explore. That'd be a good time. How we doing now? 11 minutes in. That's really been it since the last episode. It's just been Tomb Raider 2 and Justice Chronicles. And messing with my Game Boy. Or rather the POW Kitty, which I've been using to run LSDJ a little bit. I made my first chiptune that I've made in a long time. I made a real chiptune on FamiTracker, and I posted it on Battle of the Bits, so we'll see how that goes, just for fun. Yeah, it was a really good time. And with that, boys and girls, I'm almost back at my place, so I'm going to send you guys back to the studio. See you there. I do like my OG Tomb Raider series. It's funny, though, because I never really completed the OG Tomb Raider series either. I had 1 and 2. I didn't get 3 until late in life. It was just 1 and 2, and then I got Last Revelation, which would be what? 5? What's the order? 1, 2, 3, then Last Revelation, then Chronicles was 5, I guess. So I got 1, 2, and 4, and I skipped 3 and 5. And I only got Last Revelation because one time when I was skipping school, I had some money in my pocket, and by that money I mean like 75 cents or something. And the group of kids I was with, we wandered into a Dunkin' Donuts, and one of the guys was like, "Hey man, I'll give you a Tomb Raider game if you let me have those quarters so I can get a donut." And yeah, I said okay. I was sure that I was going to get ripped off. There was no way this kid was going to deliver, but I figured why not? And he actually did. The very next day, there was Tomb Raider Last Revolution for the PS1. Which I enjoyed, but I ended up getting stuck. Yeah, good times. Good times. I don't think I'm going to go back and play it on the X88 Pro again. I'm probably going to fire up Joy to Key, get a good layout going, and then play the Steam version. You know, because the graphics, not just the graphics, but the stuttering was a big deal. I don't mind the dip in graphics when you go back to the original hardware, but the flow of the gameplay is really important. That's got to be maintained. And speaking of things being maintained, big thanks to the sponsors. This is indeed a Patreon-sponsored program. And every week, I like to tip my hat and just say thanks to the individuals that are giving of their resources to make sure TCR is coming back every single week without fail. And they are Hemrock, Tecmo Balls, Darabka, and Eric Controller. Thank you all so much for supporting the show. And I hope you're enjoying the party. This is Feral from his album Deathless Garden, who will also be on the up-and-coming CME chiptune compilation, so keep your eyes peeled for that. This is track 1 from his album Deathless Garden. The name of the song is Prayers for the Dying. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. More when we come back. Back again in the studio. We got one more trip to the van for the week, and then we'll do the fail bag. Stick with us. You're listening to TCR. It's the Vancast, everyone. True Blue. It is 10:21 a.m., and I'm driving back from the office after a quick visit. The sun is out. We're feeling good. We got a beautiful 63 degrees. There's not a cloud in the sky. And it is great to be outside. And speaking of being inside and never leaving, let's talk about some video games. More and more down into the well I go when it comes to Android gaming. Last game I tried was called Levelhead, which is available on Steam, and I'm pretty sure all the major consoles as well. Levelhead was a clone from Butterscotch Shenanigans. That's the name of the company. And they basically cloned Mario Maker 2, and they did a really good job. They managed to keep all of the things that looked good about Mario Maker, still managed to make it unique enough that it's not a total ripoff, but it kept all the things that are charming. Because when you play it, you don't feel like you're playing a Mario game. You feel like you're playing a little robot game. I've had this on Steam for a year or so now. And it's available on the Google Play Store for about half price. Not on sale, but that's just what they sell it for. It's just much cheaper. Controller compatible, all the good stuff. Local multiplayer, ticks all the boxes. Got it set up, sat down to play it, and everything went good except for the fact that when I open it up and join the game, there's 3 local players. 1 that's working with my controller, and 2 that are just there, and I don't know how to get rid of them. So I go into the player manager, and it's like, oh yeah, to drop, just hit this button on that controller. I'm like, there is no other controller, sir. So that's a bit of a problem. This is the big issue when it comes to Android gaming. Is it's nice that I can port my Android games over from device to device easily, but it's more of a toss-up what's going to work and what isn't. That's the sacrifice you make. But I dig it. I dig the openness of the platform. I threw down the $2 so that I could get Streets of Rage 2. Talked about that last week a little bit. Streets of Rage 2 is a fun game. It's funny because I've had Streets of Rage 2 on the Sega Genesis collection on Steam for a long time. And if you get it on Steam, the workshop has a lot of modifications for Streets of Rage 2. That's one of the most modded games on Steam. And I have not been playing it. So I don't know how I ended up... yeah, I'll play this. So that's another interesting choice. I did take a look at the Phantasy Star collection, and I got the inside dope on that, because I like Phantasy Star. I like Phantasy Star, but there's a lot with it I haven't done, which is perfect for me. The Google Play entry Sega Classics, whatever it is, the Sega Forever Collection. It's got Phantasy Star 2, 3, and 4, and individually they're $1.99 a piece, or you could play them with ads. But if you buy the package, it's $5. So that's really, I would say, reasonably priced, except that the first game is noticeably absent, and that's really the one I played the most, just because I picked it up at the end of the life cycle of the Virtual Console, because I knew it was one of the more rare games in the bunch, and yeah, it seems kind of weird that it's absent, but you know, what are you gonna do? I'd still throw down a $5 to play Phantasy Star 2 on my phone with cloud saves. You know, sit down and play on the TV for a while, and when I'm done, save and check out, and then jump onto the same save for my phone. And it's a couple weeks in a row I've talked about that now, but I think it's the next step in when it comes to games. That's sort of I don't even know what to call it. It's a cloud interactivity that's missing from any of the other major platforms, and that includes Steam. Steam is like messing with it a little bit. Like, you can have remote play from your phone, but you can't actually like get on your Steam library and grab some games and install them on your phone. I think that's going to be the next big thing, because most of those games, not most of them, but a good number of them are just mobile ports anyway. So why not just make it so you can get it on your phone? Why did I have to buy Levelhead twice? I already had it on Steam. If I could just get, I don't know. That's just me being a cheap old man, I guess. But yeah, that has been fun. In other news, with my record label, I started working on a chiptune compilation, which has been going very, very well. I used to get really, really excited about the Chiptunes Equals Win compilations that came out every single year. They would have a lot of stuff on them. And I managed to do some successful comps in like other styles of music. Like we did the acid like house techno comp that had 2+ hours on it, that came out just like a month ago or so. So I'm dipping my foot into chiptunes, and initially it didn't look like it was going well. A couple of people raised their hand and said, "Yeah, I'll get in on it." And I'm working on some new like old style Green Leo tracks in Famatracker. But I had a night, like maybe 3 nights ago, where I did a lot of really aggressive A&R work. I was going out and finding people who were posting their new chiptunes and saying, "Hey man, can I use this on my comp?" And the response I got then was very positive. These were people who were down to contribute, but they just weren't looking for a post like that. So they didn't raise their hand initially. And because of that, we're looking at like 9 tracks at this point. I'm going to try and give it like a month to grow, like I did with the acid comp. But if I could put together another like free chiptune comp, I think that would be really good for the chiptune community. Because I'm noticing that there's fewer chiptune people, and it's not as centralized as it used to be. Most of the chiptune people hang out at Battle of the Bits now, and because they're all like trying to get on these competitions that have like exclusivity clauses, I don't know how I can go there and ask people to come contribute. I don't know that would work. So that's kind of unfortunate, but things have been looking up. That's been pretty cool. It would be really nice to have a nice fat chiptune comp playing while I'm just chilling out on my couch, grinding some levels in Phantasy Star 2 and whatnot. Yeah, that sounds like a really good time to me, actually. You know what I played last night that I haven't played in a while? Let's turn back the clock a little bit. I was not into wrestling as a youngster, really at all, until WWF Warzone came out for the PS1. And then something switched when I saw that game, and I got really hardcore into it. It was, in retrospect, not a really good game. It was low poly 3D, but it had a character creator And it's mostly button combination based. So if you didn't know what you were doing, there wasn't much you could do. The thing that was funny was that this was like the end of the era where most games that were popular or licensed or whatever would have like an original Game Boy port. So it seems weird because it's a PlayStation 1 game, but it had a gray cart Game Boy game. So I looked up at the gray cart version of WWF Warzone, and I played that a little bit. And man, oh man, are there better retro wrestling games. I'm trying to find something to replace pro wrestling on the NES, because I know people love pro wrestling on the NES, but I just couldn't quite get down with it. And this one's not going to be it. So let me know if you have a favorite wrestling game pre-PS1 era, anything 16-bit or 8-bit or whatever. Let me know what it is, and I'll check it out. Because as far as I know, none of those games are expensive. None of them. Not until you get to like the Nintendo 64, and then I think No Mercy is an old favorite, so that one goes for a good bit. And then like on the PS1, some of the SmackDown games cost good money, but come on now. Royal Rumble for the Sega Genesis, that's not a bad game, but how much does it go for online? Probably like $5. That's what I'm after. Games that are good, but don't break the bank. I was just talking the other day about how Steam machines used to be a thing. You guys remember these? Basically, at one point, Microsoft was talking about closing down the environment for Windows 10 and making it so that you could only install apps that were available in the Microsoft Store. Effectively making it so that you couldn't, install anything from anyone that wasn't playing ball with Microsoft. And Valve's response was, okay, we're going to make our own console. We're going to make our own operating system, and we'll just push everything to Linux then. That was why we had that weird system. And then since Microsoft backed down on that weirdo plan to move everything to their store, Steam OS sort of faded into obscurity. And now it's looked back on as sort of like a weird little thing that didn't really go anywhere. Now I never ran Steam OS, but I did run a Linux distribution and tried to maintain a Steam collection on it. So I saw the capabilities, I saw the compatibility of a modern day Steam collection on Linux. And it's not great, but let me say this. It's Linux. So let's say we got one of these handhelds, like the Anbernic 350, whatever number those handhelds are that run OpenDingux. I can't imagine it's too much of a stretch to get something like that. They're already running Linux to get like a Steam compatible distro. And then there you go. And then at least be able to check out some of the lower end Linux compatible games on a handheld. Let's just like connect directly to your Steam account from a handheld and grab games that way. I think that'd be neat. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like a good way to make an existing Steam library usable without having to go through building another computer or buying another computer amidst like a point where graphics cards are really expensive and then like certain components are in a short supply and whatnot. I don't know. I'm spitballing here. There's a lot of huge, enormous holes in this logic. I'm trying to think up, what things might be like a little bit, just a few steps down the line. And it's funny because this is coming from a person who's usually a few steps behind. I tend to not ride the bleeding edge because I don't want to pay the premium and I don't want to have to deal with things that are, still getting broken in. I don't know. Tell me your thoughts. I'm interested to see what the future of portable gaming would be, because it's going somewhere different. I guess. I don't know. All right. All that said, I'm going to throw you back to the studio. We'll play some chiptunes. We'll talk some games. I'll see you there. Back again, boys and girls. It's time for the fail bag. Yes, friends. Tiny little show, just you and me. Write in. Let me know what you think. We'll see what we can see. Best way to reach me is to leave comments on the YouTube channel, but if you know me personally, you can write out to my email address. Just make sure you're clear about what I can and cannot say on the air, because I don't want to run into a situation where I'm reading some personal email out on the air. Alright, so let's start with one from our good buddy Hemrock. He writes, "Greetings, Critical Failure. Hope this email finds you nice and cozy in the Tiger Claw Media Research Center. Thank you, as usual, for another episode." Thanks, man. "It's great to see you throwing your hat in the chiptune arena again. I think your track is chippin'." Thanks much. "I've enjoyed your thoughts on the Pow Kitty and the Anbernic. Do you feel you spend enough time with the two to give a thorough and fair comparison? Not quite yet. I think the discussion would make some great TCTV. Overall, which did you find yourself playing the most and why?" Well, it depends on the situation, because I think in order to really compare the two, I'd want to find where the limits are, what they can do, like play them until they start breaking down. And when I'm actually playing them, what I'm usually doing is just having a good time with whatever. I've discovered that I like using the Pow Kitty in public a little more because it's shaped like something familiar, whereas the Anbernic, I'm more likely to have to answer a question about it or something, which is counterintuitive. It's not how I thought it would be. I also tried and failed to get Commodore 64 up and running on the Anbernic, so they complement each other. The Pow Kitty settled into being my C64 machine. My C64 machine, and it has an up-to-date collection of all the actual ROMs I have, so if I don't know what I'm going to play and I want to stay within the bounds of the no piracy challenge that I've been doing the past month or so, then Pow Kitty all the way. At home, I think the screen on the Anbernic, this is just setting aside CPU and ROMs and all that stuff. Screen on the Anbernic is a little bit nicer, just because it's glass instead of plastic. So at home it's the Anbernic, and when I'm out it's the Pow Kitty. Because when it comes to the games that are too powerful for the Pow Kitty to run, like PS1 games and stuff, and some Super Nintendo, the games that I would want to play like that, there's very few like pick up and play for a short period of time type games. Like if I'm going to sit down and play something on the PlayStation, it's probably going to be like, I don't know, an RPG or something. Where I was playing the last real PlayStation game I got into hardcore was the original Twisted Metal, which again, you could argue that could be played pick up and play, but not the way I was playing it. I was like actually trying to get somewhere, and that would not be my I'm at the bus stop kind of game. So at home it's been Anbernic, when I'm out it's been Pow Kitty, and that's pretty much how it's gone down. Let's get back to the email. "Did you ever pick up Phantasy Star for Android? If so, which one?" Touched on this a little bit on the Vancast. I ended up downloading the game, and I can play it. You don't have to pay to play it, but to enable cloud save, you do. So I haven't bought it yet. I'm definitely going to be buying the 2, 3, 4 package, and I'm a little disappointed that 1 isn't there. So in order to play the first one, I still have to fire up my Wii for now. But I wanted to finish Justice Chronicles before I moved on to another RPG, because I'm still consistently playing that game, and it can't be too much longer. It's one of these things where when I bought Justice Chronicles, the store claimed 40 hours of gameplay, but I know that's not the case, because usually those kind of metrics involve like every single side quest and offshoot and like level grinding and all that stuff. At least in my opinion, whenever a game claims it has a certain number of hours, it's always going to clock in way, way less than that. So let me finish Justice Chronicles, and then we'll move on to another RPG, probably Phantasy Star 2. See. "Thank you for letting me know that LSDJ is pay what you want. That's awesome. Heck yeah, it is. Heck yeah, it is. I've got that on both on both of my portable devices. There is another program, the one that's nicknamed the Piggy Tracker. I can't think of what it's actually called, but there's one that's supposed to run natively in OpenDingux, but I have not been able to get it to work. But back to the email. I love hearing audio comments from Balzac. I wish he chimed in more often. Me too, but I'm glad he does it. First off, internet high five for playing Shining Force 3. Balzac, have you played any of the other Shining games in the Shining franchise? This is CF now, but might I recommend Shining in the Darkness, which is a dungeon crawler. I enjoyed that game. All those games are awesome. I remember Shining Force 2 being a commodity in my neighborhood growing up. NG had a copy of Shining Force 2, and he loaned it to somebody, and it never came back, and it ended up being a topic of discussion for years and years and years. Long live the Burger Rider. I've attached an appropriate soundbite for your soundboard if you ever need it. And let us not forget, Burger Rider's skills are never on trial.
Okay, we're back. You didn't miss anything.
You know, when I first heard that, my first instinct was, let's make a new intro for TCR. I've been using the last one for a few years now. I want that to play every single time we come back and do another TCR. Thank you for sending that in. Good old Burger Rider. Love that guy. Yes, this is back to the email. Yes, my friend, I have heard about Paprium for a while. This is Watermelon's long-awaited Genesis beat-em-up. I have not yet acquired a copy. I'm waiting for the inevitable Dreamcast release sometime in the next 5 years. There's also a chance that they may just sell the ROM separately. That's what I'm hoping for. In any case, Balzac, I would direct your attention to this very informative Paprium documentary. If you would like to know more about what happened behind the scenes, hopefully CF can do me a solid and post the link in the show notes. Absolutely. Check out the show notes for the Paprium documentary. And then he moves on to... Actually, you know what? Let me make sure I have that open so that I can actually do that. All right. It looks like there's a typo in the way it's linked. http:///. And because of that, it won't let me open it. And I'm trying to inspect the source so I can just fix the typo myself and get the link that way. But Gmail is apparently not letting me do that. So hang on. I'm going to see if I can paste it in an external tool and then extract the URL from there. Okay, that didn't work, but I was able to drum something up. I just looked it up, and here's an article on what happened to Paprium, final documentary released, and it's got a bunch of stuff you can watch on it. So that's what I'm going to add. So, Hemrock, my apologies if it's not exactly the same one you sent. But let's get back to the email. He says, retro gaming news. Ah, yes, I enjoy this. This is a part of his email that has led to several purchases in the past. Shantae, the darling of the Game Boy Color, has been released for the Nintendo Switch. Hopefully this will mean that more Game Boy games will be coming to the Switch in the near future. Yeah, there it is. I've never got into this one, but I know it's super popular. And look at that. There it is. $9.99. Get it on the Nintendo Switch today if you've got one. There are some expensive Game Boy carts being released by Limited Run Games here and here. Let's pop these open and take a look. Game Boy games, by the way, in no short supply. Limited Run has some. Just go over to Etsy and you could see people, like small-time developers, making them and selling them. Starhawk is $35. Good-looking top-down. No, it's not top-down. It's side-scrolling shmup, like Gradius or something. And we've also got Metal Masters for $35. Let's take a look here. Is this a fighting game? Like a one-on-one robot battling game? Like Robo Pit for the PS1. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. If you are into collecting the physical cartridges for these newly developed games, these both actually look really good. Again, I want the ROMs. Sell me a ROM that I can get for just a few bucks and put on my own hardware. But these look cool. They really do. Thanks for that. Let's get back to the email here. I got too many tabs open again. Here's a great dad game that you can load onto your Android device. It's free. It's got a Game Boy feel to it. Let's pop it open. Love my dad games. Fishing Vacation. Yes. Yes, look at that. You have captured the essence of the dad game. Very well. T-Bois, Lame Boy, name your own price. download. So it's you can get it for Windows, or you can get it you can get the APK to load on your Android device. Let's do this. We are going to put that in the show notes as well. This site that this one's hooked up to, the Fishing Vacation game, itch.io, however you want to pronounce that. I have bought several things from this site. That's a really good site, actually. There was another program, an Android program, where somebody was trying to basically rebuild the Pocket operators on Android. You know, like a sequencing sampler / drum machine kind of deal. I can't remember what it was called, but he sold that on Itch.io for $2, and I picked it up, used it once or twice. I didn't stick with it because it didn't have a way to save your beats. So if you made something on it that you liked, you had to hook it up like right away to some sort of recording device and then like record it that way into a mixer, which I could do, but that means you couldn't like use it outside of the house. You'd lose whatever you made, thus defeating the purpose. But it was cool to see what they made. I don't know. All right, I'm rambling. Let's get back to the email. Free has a Game Boy feel to it. Yes, awesome. Thank you for that. We'll check that out. What are your Game Boy game essentials? I'm rooting for you. Hemrock. Bring back Monday Night Morrowind sourdough crackers. One of those sourdough crackers knocked out my teeth, man. They're dangerous. Let's talk about Game Boy essentials. When you ask these questions, typically I pause the recording and then I write down a little list. But I'm just going to come out and say it. My favorite Zelda game of all time is Zelda Link's Awakening, which is the gray cart Game Boy game. They remade it later in the life cycle of the Game Boy Color. It was Zelda Link's Awakening DX. And the only real difference I know for that one, supposedly there's like extra dungeons or something, but that was when the Game Boy printer was a thing. So that one has like a photographer that comes and sees you every once in a while. And when he takes your picture, you can print it out on the Game Boy printer if you have one. That always struck me as kind of weird. But that the big games for me are that first Zelda game. I would say Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins. That was the first game I ever actually saw running on a Game Boy. And of all the Mario games, that one's my favorite. A lot of people will tell you that the WarioWare or Wario Land, which I guess would be Super Mario Land 3, that's the best. Nah, I like 6 golden coins the best. Elevator Action has been on many platforms, but the original gray Game Boy cart is the absolute best. So those are 3 real like game type games. There's also a lot of really good Final Fantasy games on the Game Boy, and I know there's some licensing switcheroo, some Doki Doki Panic type action where it's like really another game, but we're going to call it Final Fantasy in the West. Final Fantasy Legends 3 for the Game Boy is an amazing game that I got to play when I was young. I almost said I had it when I was younger. I didn't. My older brother had it. A weird pick would be Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, which is not a must-have, but it's always a must-have for me. Those, I think, without pausing it and really digging deep, those are the must-haves that come to mind. Another one people love that I never really got into. I'm not much of a Metroid guy, but I tip my hat to Metroid 2 on the Game Boy because instead of making like a Game Boy port of Metroid, they made a canon sequel that only appears on the Game Boy, which is weird, and I can't think of any other franchise that's really done that. So, so Metroid 2, Return of Samus, if you're a Metroid guy, I would say check that out. Yeah, those are a few picks, and there's also some really good dad games, you know, Chess Master and Solitaire and 4 and 1, all that stuff. Yeah, that's it. Much appreciated, Hemrock. Hope you're doing well, brother. Heading over to YouTube to see the comments we got from this past week. Death Adder checks in. He says, using beer as a clickbait to wrangle in the Mondo Roundverse town drunks like myself. Very based. They all look very tasty. Nintendo and Sony and Microsoft are all evil corporations that do not care about the consumer. Amen to that, brother. Sony and Microsoft have literal death devices to kill their consoles after a few years now. What? Really? Let's face it, Nintendo is basically the Yakuza. Spend $150 on an EverDrive 64 or $10,000 on a complete N64 collection. I don't even see an argument here. Yeah, you got a point. Again, the no piracy challenge is operating under the pretense that no matter what the companies have done, if I take their games, I have become a person who takes things. That's why I still think it's worth trying, even though those three companies are, I completely agree, they're evil corporations. But we must reject proprietary software and join us on this island known as GNU/Linux. Or don't, because there's no video games there. Good to hear from you, brother. I hope you're doing well. He writes in one more time and says, I love that Mecha Menace and Alex Swingle have heated sexual tension across every internet platform they interact with. Yes, they do. Those two hate each other very much. Mecha Menace says, any animosity is purely manufactured and in the imagination of Death Adder McMahon types. Swingle, eventually somebody says something so profoundly stupid it comes to me to respond. These are the moments. Cues People's Court theme. How did the People's Court theme go? I feel like that's the one with Judge Wapner, right? I used to know that like 100 years ago, but I don't anymore. Mecha Menace responds, so you're not familiar with the Socratic method. Is it real? No response to that. Still awaiting a response from Counselor Swingle. What say you, sir? Gentlemen, good to hear from you. I always enjoy a good food fight between Swingle and Mecha Menace. Gaming Beast writes, thanks for the kind words, man. Diablo 2 was about $10 if memory serves, so it's very affordable. Torchlight 2 is one I'm interested in playing with you, Swingle, and whoever else has it, and wants to join the Mondo Round Versing company. I think backing up certain ROMs in online archives for games that might be otherwise lost is a good reason for emulation. GOG probably would not exist if it had not been for abandonware titles, sites like Abandonia. Even now, there are games on those sites that cannot be purchased unless online, unless it is a physical copy, and those might not work. Might be hard to come by or hard to get running. That list is shrinking, though, as many companies get licenses for these older games, even obscure unlicensed ones, since there is a market for it. The ones that are still not on these sites are mostly obscure shareware games, unreleased betas, or games that have a rights nightmare. Yeah, it's the last one here that I'm thinking about most. A lot of games that have licensed music and characters, etc., or games where the rights holders either don't care or can't be found. What I'm saying is for preserving purposes, especially for arcade games that were never released in a collection and would probably disappear, or lots of homebrew games, etc., I think it's good for those games that would be otherwise lost. But for everything else, I do get it. Question of the Beast. What would be a setting for a scrolling beat-em-up of your design? Keep on trucking, broski. Sci-fi scrolling beat-em-up. We didn't get enough of those. There are a few good ones. There's that one. I think it's like Aliens has a really good one, and I think there's two on that Capcom beat-em-up bundle that were really good. But I would do sci-fi all the way. We don't have enough sci-fi beat-em-ups in our list. Torchlight 2 is worth your time. It's very moddable. Torchlight 2 does it have workshop support? Wow, it's been a long time. When Hemrock and I played it, we had a list of mods. Hemrock found like a bunch of mods that he wanted to use, and we went with it, and it was great. It's a good game. Good to hear from you, man. I hope you're doing well. Swingle writes in one more time at 55 minutes in. Buying Tengen games be illegal? Yes, but like I wrote back and forth in the comments with Mecha, Nintendo was responsible for punishing the publisher, and they choose not to. Something can be illegal, but not punished, and that's the overall message I was getting at. Yeah, man, it's a complicated thing. I surely do understand. Thank you for chiming in and clearing things up. And game. Did we run the gamut already? At 55 minutes and 30 seconds in? I think so. And, like usual around this time, I'm absolutely bushwhacked. And with that, boys and girls, another episode of TCR is on the books. Whatever it is you have to do this week, whatever you're dealing with, I hope it's going well. I hope you're sticking it out. And most of all, I'm rooting for you. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next Wednesday.